Greetings, Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. And today we're going to start off with the in the shop segment. Usually this is in the middle of the video, but with Shark it's kind of hard not to start off this way. So this is a Shark Vertex machine, and we're going to talk about kind of what goes on with these. So these are a dirty machine. You will have to clean these regularly. The thing with this is it has washable filters. Plus, it has a HEPA filter that needs to be replaced occasionally. That's really hidden down here. Yeah, this one's nasty. This needs to be replaced. So the running cost of this machine is actually a little bit more than the average bagged vacuum. I have a whole video why this nozzle is terrible, and I'll link that above. But these nozzles fail. Basically what happens is there's one motor powering some belts, and all that stuff just kind of goes awry in there. So I have a new nozzle here. We get to start the review with a brand new nozzle, and Shark has sent me, ironically, not a whole new nozzle. There's no second brush roller. They just cheaped out. So these are not serviceable. You generally cannot get parts for these. You have to replace them as a whole, and that means your $400 vacuum will need a $100 part at some point in a year or two. Now, Shark does have a warranty, and you can try to get one of these under warranty, which requires you registering it, calling a 1-800 number, speaking to somebody in India, and then they will try to charge you to send you a part out. They'll try and charge you some sort of fee, and it varies anywhere from $10 to like $50, depending on what it is, and then they'll charge you shipping for that. But if you are savvy and patient, you can be on the phone for 40 minutes, talk to a supervisor, and get that waived, and eventually they will ship it out to you for free, but it takes a lot of finagling for a quote-unquote warranty. So I was able to get this warrantied out, so I have a good starting point here for this review in terms of this machine. So I'm going to go ahead and start the rest of the video, but the in the shop portion of this video basically is that this is going to break. This is a disposable machine. Shark knows that, and the warranty is not the easiest thing to collect on. Let's go over some of the features of the Shark Vertex. It does have a swivel neck, however it is quite awkward and bulky. You really have to torque it a lot to move it back and forth. This machine continues to copy Bissell and Sebo in that it is a lift-off design, which means you must pull the cord out, like so, then unclip the cord, and now, if you want, we can do the lift-off design. It separates into two pieces. This has no wheels, and the hose, after you unclip it, is really, really short. The hose is probably about 1.5 meters, maybe 5 or 6 feet. It's just really, really short, so you can't really set this thing on the ground. I guess the point of this is so if you need to go under a bed, you could, and it kind of lies flat, though it's a lot higher profile than a traditional canister vacuum. Just for comparison, here it is next to a regular canister vacuum. Now, as an artifact of the docking situation, the wand has a lot of debris on it, for lack of a better word. So let's say you want to use just the wand. As you can see, there are all these things on that will prevent you from getting into a tighter space you might normally get. It also adds a little bit of weight, so that is a little strange. And then, of course, you're expected to plug the wand and the hose in together when not in use as well. I really wish they wouldn't put this cord hook somewhere else but on the wand. If they had put it on the body, it would make this lift-off thing just a little bit more practical. Everything does go back together. It's not super straightforward, but you'll figure it out. One last thing is they did not use crush-proof hosing, which is the industry standard. So if you get a kink or you crush this hose, that could be a problem. I do like that they have a quick release here. I think that good thinking. The other thing is when you try and get down low, it's really not practical with the cyclone in place. And then of course, it has the party trick of removing the bin in the motor so that you can get down low. Unfortunately, again, because of how the wand is shaped, when you do that, it doesn't actually lay flat. It lays at an angle. So that feature's very limited in terms of its practical use. The other thing is that the handle is very straightforward. It's got low pile hard floor carpets all right there and a nice on-off switch. Reattaching this, you're going to clunk this down and you're going to feel like you're going to break it or something. It's going to make kind of a horrible sound. All that just kind of clicks in and now you're back to regular vacuuming. The other thing that's kind of deceiving is a lot of people mention that these are bagless. You have a dirt cup release. You go outside to empty this. The thing about this is when you do need to empty it, there is no way to pull out this to clean it. This is very narrow, so it's not the easiest to clean. You also have right here your filters, your pre-motor filters that basically you rinse anytime that bin gets full. Right here we have access to your HEPA filter, which is your expandable. So expect to change this probably every 3 to 6 months depending on use. This is basically what you're replacing instead of vacuum bags. Let's talk about the DuoClean, the bottom 2 brush rollers. Now in a previous video I had talked about this nozzle in great detail, and a lot of people seem to think that I misunderstood the marketing. The marketing is that this helps scrub the hard floor. What actually happens is not a heck of a lot. So if you see, the pass-through on this is really small. It is smaller than my screwdriver, so maybe 3-4 millimeters at best, the pass-through between here. You are also having to get suction from all of this back over here. So the way this should work is an object is going to bounce its way in here, small enough to pass through here, go in this roller, and then be blown into the suction channel by the other roller rotating. The way it actually works is that this front roller pretty much does nothing, and all the cleaning is really done right here in this section. And this back squeegee / brush is really what's making a seal at the hard floor and allowing the suction to get to the hard floor. So a lot of marketing gimmicks from Shark. Go check out my video where I go into great detail about this system, but it's sad to see them continue to use this thing that doesn't work. Now they could choose to make this work and move the suction path in the middle of the rollers, but they're not going to do that. You also have this right here. This little brush opens and closes a valve for a high pile carpet, so you're actually going to be bleeding suction through this valve here. Another odd feature of this nozzle. Going between different types of carpet is kind of strange because there's no manual height adjustment. On most vacuums, there's actually a mechanism that's lifting the head up or down on the carpet. The way this is doing it is it's going to bleed suction. So you have an automatic valve in the nozzle. You also have at your fingertips right here, you have the controls. The other super curious thing with the Shark is because it does have 2 rollers making so much contact, it has a tendency to walk away from you. So you could see this in the last video I did of a Shark, the DuoClean, that the machine just kind of walks away from you pretty fast. Let's see how much working vacuum this Shark has. At a mile above sea level, you get 35 inches to 40 inches of working vacuum and about 75 inches sealed. Those are actually really good numbers. Unfortunately, there's just not a great way of using those numbers between that nozzle being pretty bad and them using a non-standard fitting that there are no adapters, even in the aftermarket for, means you were really limited to using those suction numbers. We're using the studio microphone for these tests, so you're hearing the real sound of this machine as it's running. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to hard floor, and we're going to see how it does on the fine sand, breakfast cereal, cat litter, and pet hair. Alright, that scattered some of the fine sand, but it picked up a lot more than it did on carpet, that's for sure. And again, you can really see it with this. This is what I've been trying to talk about with this design, is that the hair basically will just wrap around this thing or get stuck under here. Because again, there's not enough suction airflow going to this front roller, if any. All right, we have our standard pickup test of fine sand, breakfast cereal, cat litter, and fresh pet hair. Let's see how the Shark Vortex does. Alright, well, I think this will come out in camera. It hardly even touched the fine sand. It kind of worked it in. There's some breakfast cereal scattered about. Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit of pet hair woven in. It looks like the cat litter's here, but it's not. That I can see. Let us just real quick check the nozzle. I'm more curious. Alright, so that worked as it should. Oh yeah, there's some pet... Okay, the pet hair is mostly in the soft roller right now. But yeah, that's what you can expect on carpet if you were to get one of these. That's not great. I would suspect over time that this would be kind of damaging. The fine sand is actually the most important thing you want a vacuum to pick up, because if it stays in the carpet, it's going to grind up your carpet like sandpaper. Well, what are my thoughts on the Shark Vortex? Is it an improvement over the other models that I've seen over the years? Slightly. I will say in the sound test portion, you may have noticed it's a little bit quieter than previous Sharks. It still has a high-pitched noise, which I don't like. But they did try to isolate that with some sound deadening, so I do appreciate that. Everything else is pretty bad though. For the price they ask for these things, I don't understand why you wouldn't spend $100 more and get something with a 10-year warranty from like Sibo, or if you just have hard floors and area rugs, there are German offerings at this price point. So I don't really understand what the market for this is. It's worse than canister. It's not a particularly good upright, and it's a terrible lift away. But if this was a $100 vacuum, well, you'd be hearing me rave about this thing because, well, for $100, that'd be great. But for $400, absolutely not. And anybody who's giving this thing a good review online, I would be highly skeptical. Either they've had bad vacuums or they're a paid promoter. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate your support. If you want to join our Patreon, that's great. There are links in the description to support the channel. We always appreciate that. Subscribe for all the latest vacuum news, reviews, things like that, and have yourself a wonderful day.